Hello and welcome. Hello to anybody joining from wherever. I just have to have faith and trust that this links in, as it inevitably and always, pretty much always does. Aha! Signs of life. And lovely to be greeting some of you, all of you. I see an okay going up. And yes, Sergio, great. And John, ever faithful, John and Lynn from Adnamuchin in Scotland. Andrea, Elizabeth Silver, Mark Taft, Ilselinda from Portugal, and Rachel O'Reilly from Lincolnshire, Liz Harris, Scotland. Beautiful, lovely. One more there. Yeah, I can't read them. I can just about make them out. Some of you will, know what it means to have glasses. So welcome and blessings. Here in early May, just Beltane just passed. And it's Sovereign Earth 41. So Sovereign Earth, what's the strapline? Enabling humanity to once again hold nature as being sacred. So that's what Sovereign Earth is all about. It providing tools and building blocks and the aspects and elements whereby we as a species, we as humans, would put nature back at the centre and as sacred. And I dream of the day when all these topics, this is number 41, but I don't think any of those that I've covered are on the syllabus in schools. How weird. One day I dream they will be. So this week is grace, the beauty of grace. Now, interestingly, as I chose grace this week, it occurred to me that it's one of 4 key qualities that I call in each morning. Integrity, humility, grace, and humour. And grace is very important, yet it's this paradoxical, it's elusive and mysterious at one level, and yet it's available and present, constant. It's ever available, ever present, and yet it's elusive and mysterious and taken for granted. Anyway, so grace has this sort of effortless capacity for a lithe movement, for graced and graceful. The word is itself graceful, isn't it? Grace, gracious, graceful, to be filled with grace. Anyway, we're going to have a look at a few aspects of grace, try and just touch in on grace and welcome it into this space. And I feel graced by each and all of you joining me this evening. So I'll start with a song, as is customary. This is one I often, not as often as I would like, but I often sing it in the mornings and in the evenings. And I wrote it probably about 12, 13 years ago. And I'll sing it through 3 times, and I invite you to consider joining me, at least consider. And I invite the risk of joining in, please. Glory to the day, glory to the day. Let my heart rise up in flight and meet it on the way. Glory to the day, glory to this day. Let my heart rise up in flight and meet it on the way. Glory to the day, glory to this day. Let my heart rise up in flight and meet it on the way. Once more, glory to the day, glory to the day. Let my heart rise up in flight and meet it on the way. And the evening one, I'm not used to singing them consecutively. Here we are. The evening one goes, glory to the night, glory to the night. Let my heart now rest in peace, and let my soul take flight. Glory to the night, glory to the night. Let my heart now rest in peace, and let my soul take flight once more. Glory to the night, glory to the night. Let my heart now rest in peace, and let my soul take flight. So what's interesting to me is, why did I include it in here, and what happens in relation to grace? I would suggest, and my experience is, that by singing that, it invokes a quality, like singing it in the morning. It invokes the words it speaks, and my day is more graced if I'm not lazy and miss it out. If I'm sufficiently motivated and disciplined and care to sing it, I can bring grace in more fully into my life. So yeah, I was just just thinking about grace. How often do we do that? And I was thinking the other day up in the woods. I went walking with Fleur up in the Bluebell Woods, up the valley, and there was all we saw all afternoon. No people. There were deer, and particularly the image of a young deer as it's kind of it morphed into the wood. It so graceful, full of grace, and it just merged with the trees and glided away. So that was one aspect of grace. But just to touch in and get a sense of it, earlier today, I was doing the Dance of Life. At its best, that is a graceful act, and at its worst, that is not a good example of grace, and that's not why I mention it. But while I was doing it, down the garden there, this breeze came through the birch trees next door, and these beautiful hanging birches, they were filled with grace. The wind and the breeze was moving them with such grace, and I was just aware of the elements of the air in that case. And then on my right, down at the bottom of the garden, is a stream blessed with Slad Brook, and its graceful form, but also the grace of its sound and of its song, as it mellifluously, I love that word, that's one of my favourite, mellifluously traces its way down the valley and fortunately through my garden. And it's interesting, I found out that, I was reminded, I did know it and had forgotten, that there are grace notes in music. These little notes in the notation, they just add these little notes as kind of extras, little trills. So grace permeates our lives more than we might often realise, more than I might often care to realise. So I'd like to share a short story that might provide a little bit of insight into the nature of grace. It's actually, I believe it's a Chinese story or parable. Anyway, here we are. In the ocean, there's a school of fish swimming around. And one of the young fish takes off on its own. We'll make it a heroine, this one. So it's a she. This fish, she swims in towards the shore, and there are some fishermen, as it happens, fishing over from a pier at the end of the pier. They're fishing, and in this story, the fish can understand human language, and she hears the fishermen having a conversation about the magic of water, the beauty and the magic of the water. and she doesn't know what they're on about. She hasn't heard that word before, and she swims back to her school of fish, her tribe, her family, and she asks, do you have any idea what water is? I've heard it's really magical. And the fish say, no, never heard that. Got no idea what you're on about. Go and ask some of the older fish and see if they know. So she swims off to the elders and asks them if they've heard anything of water, and they say no. Except for one old fish says, actually, I did hear when I was very young, I heard a really old fish on about water, but everyone said he was a mad fish. Crazy to be talking about water. So she swims, and they advise her to swim off and ask some of the ancient sea creatures. So she goes on a long journey and swims into the sea, into the ocean. Of course, it's fraught with danger. She gets chased by fish that would like her for supper. But she's resourceful and plucky and bright, and she makes her way through the ocean to an ancient clam at the bottom of the sea. And she swims up to the clam and asks, have you ever heard of water and the magic of water? The clam says, no, I don't know anything about that. Try the old turtle. So she swims off and finds an ancient turtle that's lived for hundreds of years. And she asks the turtle, do you know anything about water? Have you heard of it? And the turtle says, no, I don't know what you're on about. I think you're on a crazy journey, wild fish chase, or whatever you want to call it. And she swims off disappointed and sad. And she's quite worn out and bedraggled, and she makes her way back. She's fortunate that her navigatory skills are such she can find her way back to her home. But she's tired, worn out, and pretty fed up, and just then pretty much gives up on it and thinks, well, it was worth a go, but water, who knows? And she's about to give up on it altogether, but she swims back in towards the shore. And she's very, very hungry after travels, and she sees a bit of bread floating in the water, and she snaps it up, but it's on the end of a hook, and she's reeled in by the fishermen on the pier, and they reel her in. They've caught the fish, and as she leaves the water, suddenly she realizes the beauty, the essential nature of water, and they reel her in, and she's left the water. And they hear her say, and she hears the fishermen say, she's too small, she's not in good condition, we'll throw her back. And they take her off and throw her back in the water. And she swims back to her school of fish. And some of them haven't seen her for what seems like years, long time. And they say, did you ever find out about the magic of water, or what it was? And she says, yes, I did. But if I told you, you wouldn't believe me. And that's, I think it has a relevance in relation to grace. It has a relationship to grace, I would suggest, in the sense that grace is also a quality that is perpetually and permanently around, available, but yet not really understood and not really, is it fully appreciated by some, and maybe increasingly. Anyway, there's a tale to ponder, just a little story. Stories, they're fun anyway, aren't they? Evening stories, bedtime story. It's not bedtime quite, I know. So yes, one of the fascinating things, of course, is where do words originate? Grace is where it comes from, grazie and gratitude. So it comes from the Latin, and it's very deeply related to the word gratitude. Same gratitude, grace, and graciousness, graceful. And it's, I think there's masses to do with gratitude in the word of grace, which we'll come to in a minute. But we've just had a story about water. And I want to give you a few words by who else but Rumi about grace and water. And then we'll have a song about water, which is actually interesting in that water embodies a lot of grace. So what does Rumi say? He says, Rumi says, "You are so weak. You are so weak. Give up to grace. Give up to grace. The ocean takes care of each wave till it gets to the shore. Graced with water, cleansing, powerful, healing, changing, I am. Graced with water, cleansing, powerful, healing, changing, I am. Graced with water, cleansing, powerful, healing, changing, I am." Please join for a couple of rounds. Graced with water, cleansing, powerful, healing, changing, I am. Graced with water, cleansing, powerful, healing, changing, I am. So the regulars and the old timers amongst you will recognise I changed a word. I substituted grace. Instead of born from water or born of water, I put graced by water. And indeed we are. We are. I am. You are. We are predominantly water. Much of me before you now is water. And water flows around us, within us. And it's a good link with grace, as I see it and feel it in the moment. So I'd like to share a couple of grace notes, you could call them. And I don't always know where these have come from, because I get various inspiration and quotes from my book of Shinings, which I've accumulated over the years. It has all sorts of songs and quotes. Some of these are in there. Unwinged and naked, sorrow surrenders its crown to a throne called grace. Unwinged and naked, sorrow surrenders its crown to a throne called grace. And I came across another saying that links with that recently. Grace doesn't depend on suffering in order to exist. But where there is suffering, you will find grace in many facets and colours. There's another one. When grace moves in, guilt moves out. I like that one. When grace moves in, guilt moves out. One more. Peace. You should always carry peace with you. It's the most beautifying thing you could ever have or do. Peace makes your heart beautiful, and it makes you look beautiful too. Peace creates grace, and grace gives peace. Peace creates grace, and grace gives peace. Okay. Oh yes, I just wanted to touch. We're all familiar with grace before meals, aren't we? Well, maybe we're not. It used to be more prevalent in our culture, and it still hangs on in there in a few places. I want to share just, I'm going to say a grace before meals prayer. Imagine food before us, and imagine the difference saying this makes to the food and to the relation, to my relationship to the food and to the food's relationship to me, by saying grace, which I think grace is a legacy of grazie and gratitude, but it instills grace and bestows grace to the process of eating the food or connection with it. Receiving this food, I acknowledge and celebrate the fruitfulness of the earth and the work of human hands that have brought this to me. Eating this food, I acknowledge and celebrate my unity with my fellow human beings, with Gaia and the cosmos. And I suggest that saying that or something similar in appreciation and gratitude, grace before meals, evokes it creates a completely different relationship to the food. It instills grace to the process, or at least it helps. If you've seen me eat, that's probably a bit stretching it a bit, but grace comes into the process more than it would otherwise have done. Grace before meals. That's a friend of mine called Ratnadeva, a dear friend, soul friend, also known as Barn Owl or Sean, but Ratnadeva in his current incarnation. And I thank him for that, gratitude and grace. So I'd like us to tune into, connect with, and experience a short dose of focused grace. So I'm inviting us all to close our eyes. And to just sink deeper with the breath as a grace note in our lives, the grace notes of the breath, gracing our lives. And we go into in our mind's eye, in your mind's eye, invite us each to take ourselves into a wood in spring. A beautiful wood with spring flowers and young leaves bursting from the bud, and walking through this wood, celebrating the colours, the smells, and the sight of everything around. And on this occasion, I'm going to invite us to go. There's a stream somewhere. You can hear it burbling and dancing, and you make your way towards the stream. And you find a grassy knoll or a little place, a special, welcoming, lush grass place where you can sit or lie next to the stream. And you make yourself fully at home there, comfortable, and I invite you to completely absorb the grace that is all around, be it water, trees, grass, air. Just spend a few moments absorbing and celebrating and appreciating the grace that you live in. And now I'd like you to invite you to turn that around in a way, to emanate grace from your being to all around you in that space. So you've absorbed and experienced the grace coming from without. I invite you to share your grace with the stream, with the trees, with the grass, with the air. And just finish by merging the two, so you become both grace-filled by all around you, and you become grace yourself, and thereby you grace your presence with the presence of all around you. And I invite you to gently get up from where you're sitting or lying, and to give gratitude, to give grace to that place and to those beings around you, and to make your way back gently through the wood, past the flowers and the trees and the new buds and the young leaves, and you make your way back into the room you're sitting in watching this episode of Sovereign Earth, and you bring yourself back to your chair or your sitting stool, as I'm on, or your bum or your knees, wherever you are at. Welcome back. Okay. So I'm going to read something that I was going to do this at the end, but it feels right to do it now. I don't know who wrote this, but it holds good. The mystery of grace is the spirit which, when I look outwards, envelops me, and when I look inwards, fills me. I'm going to read that again because it's powerful. The mystery of grace is the spirit which, when I look outwards, envelops me, and when I look inwards, fills me. Grace brings about a change in our level of awareness. Grace means perceiving the whole mystery in everything that reflects it on earth. I'm just going to finish with a song, as those of you who know me are aware I am wont to do. So this one is another one that's very slightly adapted. I'm just going to sing it. Graced am I by trees of beauty, graced am I by skies of blue, graced am I by all around me, by this land and by you, by this land and by you. Every plant that grows to feed me, feed my mouth and feed my eyes, every grain of sand, every creature, and my kin by my side, and my kin by my side. I'm going to sing it through once more, if you can bear my voice. If I can find the drumstick. Graced am I by trees of beauty, graced am I by skies of blue, graced am I by all around me, by this land and by you, by this land and by you, by this land and by you, by this land and by you. Every plant that grows to feed me, feed my mouth and feed my eyes, every grain of sand, every creature, and my kin by my side, and my kin and my kin by my side, and my kin by my side. So I feel truly graced sharing this space with each of you. You are gracing me as I am gracing you, and we are all gracing each other. And that's the way it's meant to be. And thank you for joining me. And on Friday there'll be Earth Service, Sovereign Earth Service, with singing and chanting and more a period of meditation. I feel very at peace, and I bid you good night. Let's blow out this candle for the good of all beings, offering what we've shared here for the benefit of all. Okay, good night.